Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Listen, on this video I want to talk to you guys about how to set yourself up for an amazing 2019 by asking yourself just 4 very simple intentional questions. Before I do that though, let me introduce myself. My name is Lynn Schrader and I empower men and women to step outside of their comfort zone and begin living a life that they could have never imagined. I love to ignite a passion and fire in people who are ready for a change and ready for more. So on to our subject. Of course, I know that it's not even Christmas, one holiday at a time, right? Yes, I get that, but I think we're doing a disservice to ourselves if we do not plan a little bit and ask ourselves some intentional questions about the new year. If we don't, we just slide into that new year and we end up doing so many of the things that we have done previously. Now, there's a reason why they call it New Year. It's because we are called to do new things to better ourselves. So let's get intentional about our new year by asking ourselves 4 very basic questions. Now, before I do that and tell you what those 4 questions are, I know that some people go all out and they run reports. They do financial reports. They look at their losses and their profits from the year before, and they do all of those things, and I think it's wonderful. But I think we forget some basic things we can ask ourselves as well. Now, I am a behavioral coach, and I work with people, with clients all the time on their behavior, things that they say, things that they do, things that they believe that manifest themselves in their behavior. So my questions, my preparing for the new year are some very simple questions to get intentional to change our behavior. So the first question is, what did I do this past year that I can really give myself a shout out about? What am I proud of? The second question is, what mistakes did I make? And what did I learn from those mistakes, which is super important. The third question that we can ask ourselves is, what do I need to release that I held on to in the previous year? And then the last one that I think is super important is, how did I bring value to my world this past year? And what can I do to bring even more value or continue to do that in the new year? So let's break it down now. The first question, what did I do this past year that I am super proud of? What did I do? What did I create? What did I experience? What did I say that makes me super proud? Unfortunately, so many of us don't acknowledge our things that we do great. I actually was brought up to never brag and to just never brag about what you do, and I agree with that, but sometimes we can take it to the extreme and never acknowledge the things that we do that are pretty fantastic. So I want you to ask yourself, what did you do, say, experience, create that you are flipping proud of this past year? Don't be critical of yourself. Now is the time to shine. Now is the time to be your biggest cheerleader. What I want you to do is I want you to write those things down. I'm a teacher at heart. I'm a former teacher, and I think I'll always be a teacher. And I'm all about writing things down. Something magical, I don't believe in magic, but something magical happens when we write it down. We are more apt to remember it and claim it. So write the things down that you experienced, that you did this past year that were so awesome and you need to give yourself a round of applause. Now, how can you do that? You can grab your calendar. I'm a huge proponent of using a calendar. Grab your calendar, start opening it from January all the way till December, and look at all the places you went, all the meetings you went to, all the things that you experienced that you see written on your calendar to recall just how awesome you were this past year. Now, if you are a stay-at-home mom, let me give you a huge round of applause. You have one of the hardest jobs out there. What I'd love to challenge you to do is, if you have not kept a calendar because you think, well, I'm staying home with my kiddos, why do I need a calendar? You need a calendar because I want you to look back next December at all the awesome things that you did with your kiddos. So start writing them out. Took them to the zoo, took them to the science center, took them to the park, took them to McDonaldland, whatever it is, so that this time next year you can say, well done, I did a really, really great job. Okay, so number 2, the second question that you can ask yourself that is so important is this: what mistakes did I make this past year, and how did I learn from them? Or what can I learn from them? Mistakes, if you've watched any of my videos, I've said this before, mistakes can be your greatest teacher. Mistakes are like professors at college. They teach you things, and they teach you priceless things. So if you can leave your ego aside and look at your year past and ask yourself, what mistakes did I make? Because we all made them. And what did I learn from them? Because if you did not learn from the mistake, then that's something that you need to come to terms with, because we can always learn from something that did not go our way. Now, here's what's so important about doing them in December. When we try to look at our mistakes, and you still should look at your mistakes as they happen, but when we look at our mistakes as they happen, sometimes it's too raw. Sometimes we're too close to the mistake to really, really see it. Have you ever looked in one of those magazines where they'll have a close-up picture of something and they'll say, what is it? And you have to guess what it is. Like, it's a tree, it's the bark on a tree, it's the scale on a fish, whatever. You can't really tell because it's so close up. But then they tell you to go to the back of the magazine to find the answer. Have you ever seen something like that? I like that. Even as an adult, I love those kind of things. But you go to the back of the book, and all of a sudden you see the big picture, and you're like, of course it's a frog's eye, whatever it is. Same thing happens when we look at our mistakes in December. If we take a big bird's eye view in December, we are more apt to see what we can learn from that. Distance gives us a better view. So here I am, again, my teacher hat on, write them down. Write the things that did not go your way this past year, that mistakes. Remember, we are all perfectly imperfect. Write them down so that this next year, you've got some tools in your tool belt for the new year. You can change your behavior. The third question to ask yourself, super, super, super important for all of us to ask ourselves this all the time, but especially before the new year hits. What was I holding on to this past year that I need to release? What do I need to let go of? Now, it can be projects, it can be to-dos. Listen, if you've got things piling up in your house, maybe it's time for you to donate them. But here's the thing, your to-do list or your projects may not be relevant anymore. Maybe last January you had a project that you wanted to do this past year, but it's not relevant anymore. You're not even in that place anymore. Remember, we're always evolving into a new person, a new creature if we let ourselves evolve. And when I say evolve, I mean we're always refining ourselves, trying to be better, to be a better value to the world. So if you had a to-do or a project in January, February last year, maybe take a look at it and say, listen, that's not even relevant anymore. I'm not even there. That doesn't even serve me anymore. On the flip side, if it needs to get done, do it. But here's the thing, and here's where the behavioral coach comes in. So many of the things that we need to release are on the inside. I call it an inside job. Maybe it's bitterness. Maybe it's a fear. Maybe it's the idea that you have to be perfect, perfectionism. Maybe it's unworthiness. Maybe it's a hurt. Ask yourself questions like that. What do I need to release that aren't serving me? And be ready to let them go in the new year. Remember, first of all, I want you to know that this year is going to be awesome for you. It is. Remember, if you've watched any of my videos, I want you to live a life that you know without an ounce of doubt that your world is rigged in your favor, because it is. It is. So release things that are holding you back and aren't serving you. Maybe it's disempowering thoughts, negative mindsets like you're too old to do that in the new year. Or you're too young. I mean, you can flip that around. You're too young. Nobody's ever going to take you serious. Or you're not intelligent enough. Or you're not, you don't have enough skills behind you. Whatever that disempowering thought is, let it go. Release it. So the question number 3 is, what did I hold on to this past year that I need to release? Okay? The last behavioral question that you need to ask yourself, or the question about intentional question, is, what did I do this past year that brought value to my world? And what can I do even more this year? So, and by the way, that last one, what do you need to release? You need to write it down. Remember, I'm a teacher. You got to write it down. Otherwise, it's just a thought. It's thought, and it here today, gone tomorrow. Write it down. All right, last one though is, what did I do last year to bring value to my world, and what can I continue to do or even increase this past year? So think about it and write it down. What does that look like? Is it volunteering? Is it taking 1 month out of one day out of the month and volunteering at the Ronald McDonald House? Is it visiting people in the nursing home? Is it donating your time, talent, or money in some form or fashion? Is it sponsoring a child at Big Brother, Big Sister? Is it chasing a cause that is near and dear to your heart? Is it going on a missions trip? Is it chasing a cause and being vocal about it in a good way, not in a negative way? Is it spending more time with your family? Is it letting go of a few hours at work and spending more time with your family, because your family, your kids are not going to be little forever, right? Right. So what did you do this past year that brought value to your world, and what can you do even more? I've been thinking about that one a lot. I don't want to be just somebody that says something in December and it doesn't happen by next year, so I'm going to write it down. So do these now before the hustle and bustle of the holiday, or do it in the midst of the hustle and bustle, because you don't want January 1st to come around and then go, okay, Happy New Year, here comes the new year. Be intentional. The world needs you to be intentional. The world needs you to refine yourself. We are all supposed to be a work in progress until our last breath. I believe that with all my heart. So listen, if you got any value out of this, if you know somebody who is right now talking about what their goals are for the new year, what their quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, which is wonderful. I've got those goals. Maybe slide this video into them and say, hey, why don't you take a look at this too? Just 4 thought-provoking questions for you to be intentional about your 2019 or your new year. And the last thing I want you to do, if you want to share that, great, but the last thing I want to do is truly, I want to hear from you. So in the comment section, tell me, what is one thing that you did this past year that you want everybody to know that you are flippin' proud of yourself about? By the way, there's probably 20, so give yourself some slack. Number 2, what mistakes did you learn? What's one mistake you learned this past year that taught you something and you're going to change it up in the new year? Number 3, what can you release? What are you going to release this last year? Is it not a belief that you can do anything? Is it releasing this need to prove yourself? Is it releasing some bitterness? Is it releasing really a crazy fear that you've had? Because here's the deal, we always tell ourselves stories. We have a dialogue going on in our head, and then those stories, we start to act them out, and you don't want to do that. So release those things. And the 4th thing is comment, what are you going to do to bring value to your world this year? So I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, thank you for watching. I'll be back on here in a couple of days. Thank you so much. I want to hear from you, so write in the comments section. And if you're watching live, write the word live. If you're watching replay, write the word replay. Thanks for watching, guys.